for the cells, all that good stuff. Everything came back clean. So they're like, hey, just follow up with us. We don't know what's going on. So I went back to my primary care and be like, dude, like, they don't know what's going on, and like, this thing is getting worse. I'm in a lot of pain. I'm in pain every single day. My thighs are on fire. Like, I don't know what's going on, man. And I feel like I'm getting worse, man. I feel really, really sick every day, right? Like, I can't do this. Like, I can't focus at work. I can't focus at school. Like, I need help. And he was like, all right, cool. Like, they couldn't figure anything out. Let's send you over to the neurologist. So I went to the neurologist, and then, of course, they started doing things on me, right? Oh, let me run a whole bunch of tests on you. So they did like about, man, 2 pages of blood work. Like, they brought a cart in for me, right? They were so freaked out by my symptoms. They brought a cart in, and by the time that cart went out of the room, they had about 10 to 15 vials of blood that they took from me just to test to see what the hell is going on with this guy right here, because he got something that we don't know what he got, but he got something going on with him. So they took that card out, and long story short, man, they didn't find anything, right? So, finally went again back to the primary care. What did he do? Sent me to someone else, right? The rheumatologist, right? Now, it's at this point in my life that I realized that doctors here are totally different from doctors back home. Like, the medical system here. Like, back home in Jamaica, it's like you go to one doctor for everything. It doesn't matter what you have, right? It doesn't matter what you have. That dude can fix anything. If it's something wrong with your toes, your fingers, your hands, your feet, your head, your eyes, your teeth, like that, he does everything. We had one doctor growing up. He delivered me out of the womb of my mom, right? He delivered me, right? He was our dentist, right? He was her eye doctor. He was her foot doctor, a hand doctor. Like, he treated everything from head to toe. But I notice here, when in this country, it's a little bit different in America. Like, they split you up in different parts. They got a head doctor, they got an eye doctor, they got a mouth doctor, they got an elbow doctor, they got a finger doctor, and so they split every part of your body up, and you have a guy that deals with that. So it's pretty weird, but I worked with it. So went to the rheumatologist. Long story short, now this was a crazy part. This is when things started getting annoying for me, and I was like, okay, I'm done with this. So went to the rheumatologist, and I wrote my symptoms down in a piece of paper, filled out my application, whatever it is, new patient intake form, right? And I sent the paperwork in with the receptionist. So they're like, okay, we're ready to see you in about 10 minutes or so. Just sit in here. And they took me to that room that you wait for the doctor to come in. Now, this is how crazy this thing is. When dude finally walked in to the room, right? He walked in with a piece of paper in his hand. And he said, talk to me about your lifestyle. What do you do every day? So I'm telling him what I do. I work hard. I'm a crazy worker. Like, I got 2-3 jobs, like, I never stop working. If I'm not doing that, I'm going to school, like, I'm just all over the place. So I'm telling him about my lifestyle, what I do for work, all of that. He said, tell me about your symptoms. I was like, it's flu-like, a lot of pain, horrible pain all over. We tried every single blood test that we could do. Everything is clean. Nobody knows what's going on. I need some help. They send me here to you. So he took up this paper that he had in his hand, and he was like, I want you to try this. It's called Cymbalta. I want you to try this. It's called Cymbalta. A lot of people, take this for things that you're going through. I was like, a lot of people, like who? He was like, I mean, people with, people come to me for, different things. We treat arthritis here, or fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, things like that. When people, they can use Cymbalta. So I was like, are you saying that I have fibromyalgia? You think that's what I have? He was like, no, I can't say that, because, I can't just diagnose you with fibromyalgia right away. I have to watch it, and after a couple of months or 2-3 months or so of coming to see me, then I can write in a piece of paper and say, hey, it looks like you got fiber, so I'm going to write it down. So I was like, okay, fair, cool. You don't think, or you're not sure that I have fibro, And why are you prescribing Cymbalta to me if you don't even know what I have, right? So I was like, okay, what does this drug do? He was like, well, it kind of like you take it, it kind of like numb, the pain. It works with the sensors in your body, in your nervous system, and it kind of like calms the sensors down so that you don't feel as much like pain and, like feeling like you're sick every day. So I was like, are you saying it's kind of like a painkiller? He was like, no, it's not really a painkiller, but it's kind of similar to a painkiller. This more focuses on the nervous system and kind of like tapping into what the nervous system is feeling. So I was like, so you're telling me, you're giving me this pill, not because you know what's wrong with me, not because you're giving me something to say, hey, take this and it's going to take your problems away. You're giving me a pill for me to take, which is going to in turn trick my nervous system and my brain to say, hey, guess what? You're not sick anymore. So what's really wrong with me is not getting fixed because I'm taking a pill that's lying to my body that I'm okay, when in reality I'm not. So this is just something to just cover the symptoms. So he started getting annoying. He didn't like that. He started getting annoying. I was like, whatever, I'm not gonna argue with this guy. I was like, just give me the piece of paper with a prescription, I'll go fill it, right? The funny thing about that is when he read my file at the receptionist desk before he walked in, when I was sitting in the office waiting on him for about like 10-15 minutes, he walked in with the paper in his hand, which means just by reading my file, he already decided that he was going to put me on Cymbalta just by reading my file and my history. So that just tells me that dude didn't really care to even hear my story or to try to figure out what's really wrong with me, because he already had that prescription ready to go. That check, right? Yeah, that check. So I filled it. I'm not a fan of taking medications for reasons I don't know why, or if I don't have to take medication. I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a big fan of just taking medication just to take a medication just because you were given it, right? So I filled a prescription just to fill it, right? Just for the heck of it. Spoke to my mom about it, and she was like, nah, I wouldn't take it either. And I was like, yeah, I was thinking that. I'm not going to take it. Open it up. These pills were like this big, man. I'm telling you, it was crazy. One of these pills were like the same size as my finger, man. Like, we're talking huge pills. Like, or I had like something, I'll show it to you right now, but like these huge pills, man, huge pills. And I see it on TV all the time, Cymbalta. It's like, okay, so this is what you're talking about when I see all these advertisements. Huge blue pill. So I took one just to try it out. I felt weird. Like, it was, I don't know if it was just like my mind was telling me that, hey, it's a bad thing. So I kind of like reacted. So I may have overreacted. But long story short, I didn't feel good. I started itching a lot after I had taken it. I started feeling extra hot. And I was like, I'm not taking it anymore. So that was the only and first time that I've ever taken any form of medication that has anything to do with what I'm going through. And it was just one pill, and that was it. So I put the Cymbalta down, never touched it again. I think I still have it actually in my medicine cabinet. It's like just sitting in there not doing anything. Never taken it. So I decided that since these doctors can't help me, I'm going to do my own thing, do my own research, and try to help myself. And that's when I got on this long journey. I know it's been like a long video, but I had to make this because I've had a lot of awakenings over these past years, and I've met a lot of interesting people, and I've learned so much about the human body and what we need to do as a people in order to be healthier, to do better, and to live longer. And I'm telling you right now that you have to take your health into your own hands. You have to decide that, hey, it doesn't matter what disease or illness you have, doesn't matter what bacteria, fungus, or virus is living inside your body. You have to get up and say, I don't care what these doctors say, I'm going to fix myself. I don't care what they say this pill can or cannot do. I'm going to fix myself, because at the end of the day, if you're dependent on another human being to make you live longer and to make you healthier, you're making a huge, huge, huge mistake, because your life, it's all up to you. How long and how healthy you're going to live, it's all up to you. That's it. I'm not saying that these doctors don't care. I'm not going to say that. I'm not saying that they don't know what they're doing. Who knows? Maybe that's all they know. You know, so sometimes maybe when we criticize them and say, hey, like, this guy don't know what he's doing, well, maybe that's all he was taught in school. He went to school for all these years. Maybe that's all they showed him and say, hey, do this, A, B, C, D, E. And he was like, what about F, G, H? And they're like, don't worry about F, G, H, just do A, B, C, D, E. And he was like, but F and G comes after that. They're like, yo, don't worry about F and G, just do A, B, C, D, E. And maybe that's how all these doctors were taught to do their job. Don't ask questions, just follow the rule book, black and white. Don't look to the universe, don't look to God, don't look for miracles, don't look for magic. Just follow the rule book. But when it comes to your life and your health, there's no black and white. The rule book doesn't work, right? We can have 5 people in here with the same symptoms, exact same symptoms. Doesn't mean that they all have the same illness, and it doesn't mean that one's healthier than one, or one's stronger than one, or one's gonna heal and the next one's not gonna heal, and it doesn't mean that you can treat them all the same way. 5 different people, the same symptoms, it's gonna turn out differently, because they all contracted it some other way or different ways, right? So let me just stop rambling and just get to the point, right? That was part 1 of my story of how my journey began with fibro or chronic fatigue syndrome, you know, all these weird things, all these weird symptoms that look like 12 different diseases that no one can track, no one can figure out where it's coming from.